A deal has been signed to allow the resumption of grain shipments from Ukrainian ports on the Black Sea following months of Russian blockades. Representatives from both sides attended the signing in Istanbul, along with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. It's hoped that reopening the ports and allowing grain to leave Ukraine will help ease global food prices, which have spiked in recent months. At the signing ceremony, Mr. Guterres stressed the deal's significance, calling it an agreement for the world.
It will bring relief for developing countries on the edge of bankruptcy and the most vulnerable people on the edge of famine. And it will help stabilize global food prices, which were already at record levels even before the war, a true nightmare for developing countries.
Let's join DW correspondent Julia Hahn in Istanbul. Welcome, Julia. Sounds like a lot of people will be breathing huge sighs of relief this afternoon.
Exactly, I think so, and not just here in Istanbul, but around the world. People have been following these negotiations in the past weeks, in the past months even, and now finally a deal has been signed. I think it's fair to say that this is one of the most significant compromises, or the most significant compromise reached between Moscow and Kiev since Russia invaded Ukraine in February. The UN Secretary General hailed it as, and I quote him here, a beacon of hope. But he also urged all sides to fully implement this agreement. Turkish President Erdoğan, who also played a key role in negotiating this deal, called it a turning point in this war. He said vessel traffic could start, and I quote him, in the coming days. Of course, it remains to be seen how fast this whole plan can be put into action, because some have cautioned that it actually might take a couple of weeks to get this whole new grain export system up and running. But right now, as the war in Ukraine rages on, I believe for many this is a sign of hope, at least.
So who has committed to what in this deal, Julia?
Well, the actual text of the agreement has still not been made available as we speak, but we do know that the plan provides for Ukrainian vessels to escort or guard cargo ships through mined waters, so the waters will not be specifically demined via the Black Sea out of Ukrainian territorial waters towards Turkey. Both sides have made promises that they would not attack these ships. Now, there is also going to be a coordination center to be set up here in Istanbul at this strategically very important Black Sea location, staffed by representatives of Russia, Ukraine and Turkey to oversee the grain exports and also to conduct inspections of these ships. That was a specific Russian demand, that all ships, cargo ships traveling to Ukraine or coming back would be inspected to make sure there are no weapons or military equipment on board. But Ukraine said they wanted that to take place in Turkish waters. So we're assuming right now that's exactly how it's going to look like.
Right, because trust has been a big issue in these talks for both sides.
Well, that is of course true, and I've just mentioned a few points in this obviously very complex agreement. But for the Ukrainians, security has always been a top priority, and they said they would not approve anything that does not guarantee the safety of their southern regions and the security of the exports of their agricultural products. And Ukraine, as we all know, has accused Russia in recent weeks of specifically targeting and more frequently targeting Ukrainian cities. So Ukraine has always been warning that they can trust Russian promises, specifically on security, and I think that will remain a sticking point.
Thank you for that, Julia Hahn in Istanbul. We'll take a look at this from a different angle with David Laborde, who's a senior fellow at the International Food Policy Research Institute. Welcome to DW. Can we start with your reaction to the news of this deal?
So it's a good news because anything that can help facilitating trade, in particular in the Black Sea, is needed to reduce pressure on agricultural markets. So it's a good news for farmers in Ukraine, and it's a good news for consumers all around the world.
Trust has been a big issue, of course, during these months of negotiations. What do you think has made this agreement possible now?
I think there is a big question about timing, because on one hand, it's very important for Ukraine to be able to export in the coming month with the new harvest coming. They need basically to reopen their markets, and normally they export a lot in the second half of the year. Also, Turkey is a big processor of both grains coming from Ukraine and Russia, and so in terms of economic cost, that's very painful for the Turkish economy to maintain the current statu quo. And I will say even Russia, that due to the disturbance in the Black Sea, is also paying a price on its own export and its own access in terms of maritime transportation for their own goods due to the level of uncertainty. So bringing back some normality in the Black Sea will provide benefit for the three countries directly involved. And last but not least, I mean, potentially Russia have understood now that seizing Odessa and basically taking all the south of Ukraine is not a possible goal right now. And so they move to a new chapter.
Right. And speaking of new chapters, Russia has been accused of using food as a weapon in its war with Ukraine. Does this mean that does this deal mean that has stopped?
So I will just be very cautious about the fact that Russia has used food and hunger as a weapon. I mean, that was a side effect, but clearly that was not their priority. So maybe some more cooperation among various countries in the region, yes, but I will not say it's totally a game changer about how Russia will behave on the ground, and they may still hurt Ukrainian agricultural infrastructure, for instance.
Right. Now, of course, the important thing is to get the grain onto world markets and into shops. We don't know, I suppose, how long it's going to take to actually set this deal up and actually get working before the grain can actually reach people who need it.
Yes, exactly. I think the implementation is going to be crucial because what we really also need is an agreement at scale. If, let's say, in 1 month we just manage to get 1 or 2 ships out of Ukraine, that's more or less, I would say, nothing. You know, what we need is to be able to have 20, 30 ships a day that can go in and out of Ukraine if really we want to get something that will be close to normal.
Good talking to you. Thank you for joining us. David Laborde from the International Food Policy Research Institute.
Thank you.